so I turn my attention to the matter of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme and the university's conundrum or challenge in this respect. As I do so, I'm reminded of my own philosophy of life, which is, even when one has made the best preparations, one must anticipate a downside. Even as one is hopeful that one is going to execute perfectly that plan, one must always provide room for some downside, if you like. Everything can't simply be upside. And so the conundrum that we're faced with is that we have close on 3,900 students at the university who would not be able to continue their studies, first years, senior students, and students in their final year of study, of undergrad study, that is. Close to 3,900 who will not be able to continue their studies unless there is an urgent intervention. And so why does this situation arise? It arises because the state's allocation in respect of the Student Financial Aid Scheme to the university is significantly below what the university requires. The state's allocation is estimated to be in the region of 300 million rands, which is a significant amount of funds. Yet our estimate is that the state would need to inject a further 200 million rands into the university in order for us to cover this group of close on 3,900 students. So if you do the sums on 300 million rands, the university is able to provide support to between 6,000 and 6,500 students. And we had a difficult task of working out how we're going to allocate these 6,500 or so what do you call pieces of aid or parts of aid to these 6,500 students. The outcome of that was that in the case, for example, of final year students, in order for you to qualify, in order for you to receive an aid or bursary from the state, you would have had to achieve an 80% success rate in your modules in the previous year, meaning last year. That is a very high threshold. But that is the situation that we are faced with. And a similar situation applies to senior students. And obviously in the case of first year students, again, the criteria we would have to take was how well did they do in their national senior certificate exams. And so despite the fact that we are advised that 7 billion rands is allocated nationwide to student financial aid, that in fact is divided between universities, 3 billion, and almost 4 billion to further education and training institutions. That 3 billion that comes to universities is then divided amongst institutions. Just to give an idea, in 2009, the university's shortfall in rand terms, meaning the state had to give an additional 9 million if that was possible then, or additional amount then, was 9 million rands. So our shortfall was 9 million rands. This year, 2013, our shortfall is 192 million rands. So you can see what has happened over this period. Many more students since then are destitute. Many more students come from poor communities, from poor background, where the family is not able to put a single cent towards the university education. And so it's important that we open the doors of learning, in particular of universities, to the poorest amongst us. But at the same time, we cannot put our universities at risk. We cannot put our financial sustainability at risk as institutions. And so that is the conundrum that we are faced with. And that is the matter that I've engaged with the Director General and the Minister on in the last week or so, to alert them to this situation and to secure additional resources. If what I've discussed with the Director General comes to fruition, we would be able to halve the 192 million, together with the university's own commitment to the Student Financial Aid Scheme in the region of 35 million, plus 78 million from the state potentially, we would still be short something of the order of, if I have my numbers right, about 70 million rands. And 70 million rands means that about 1,000 senior students and about 700 first-year students would still not be able to continue or begin their studies at the University of Johannesburg. And that is the crisis that we face. And therefore we should expect that there will be student concern and possibly even protests around this matter. Concern that they're being excluded, not on academic grounds, but because they're poor, because they can't afford. And therefore we are gearing ourselves, excuse me, we are gearing ourselves therefore for such a worst case scenario. And obviously the colleagues who are working in the Student Financial Aid Scheme will be concerned, and we obviously will take every precaution to secure a good, healthy and a safe environment for them to continue to do the outstanding work that they are doing.